The day's finally come. We got our 1978 Cutlass fired up. We knew at the beginning of this season we were going to be putting a lot of power in this car with the Pace LS3. We needed a wiring solution, so we reached out to our friends at PSI Integrations. They were really stoked about the idea and even offered to come out and help us wire the car up. So with their help, we finally got it buttoned up and it's running. The PSI guys are going to take it away from here with the time they spent with us.
Today I don't work with UMI, I work with PSI Conversion. Let's do it.
So I'm Joe Ballesteri, co-owner at PSIConversion.com. So what PSI does is makes an LS swap easier. We've been doing this about 20 years and we saw a need for something that would save time, be plug and play, and take the headache out of wiring a car. So we got the call from Dave and Ramey that they wanted to LS swap their 78 Cutlass. And what we gave them is our most popular product. It's an engine controller kit. So it gives you everything you need, minus the engine and trans. It's got the wiring you need. It's got a computer and trans controller tuned for what you have. All the sensors that wouldn't come with your engine, including a gas pedal, to get that thing wired and fired up.
Hey, we're PSI Conversion, and this is some of the cool parts that we're putting in the 78 Cutlass today. It's our most popular kit. It's the Gen 4 engine controller kit for a 4L60. And it comes with all kinds of things, basically everything you need to get wired up and fired up. And Matt's going to tell you about all the components that are in the kit.
So the kit, the main portion of the kit is the engine harness and the computers. The engine harness has a couple simple connections like grounds, power, switch power. And that's about it to get you wired up and ready to go once you connect all the sensors up. We installed our upgraded braided loom on this harness. It tucks away nice and neat and it adds a higher quality finish. The computers come pre-tuned for your setup, whether it's a stock motor or a crate motor. We also went ahead and added ground straps. This makes sure that it's a nice easy install and make sure everything's tidy and grounded well. That's super important on these wiring setups.
Yeah, that really solves our #1 problem.
Yeah, poor grounds are our #1 issue, so we always recommend the ground kit. Make sure that everything's solid there. We also added a ECM TCM bracket to have a clean, easy install. Everything's mounted in one place, no custom work there, and a fuse block bracket that can go alongside that. We offer this mass airflow tube. The guys at UMI here welded up their own custom one, which is an option for the kits. We also offer this nice billet mass airflow tube if you can't weld, which is a great time saver for those people. You get all the sensors, oxygen sensor, mass airflow sensor, accelerator pedal that you need to install this kit.
All right, so the hard part's done. We decided where to drill the hole to feed the harness through. And the harness is designed to have the fuse block and the computer in the passenger compartment. All the rest of the stuff is for the engine, the other half of the trunk. And the way you do it is to stick everything in the passenger compartment and feed this section through. There's a grommet that seals on that 2-inch hole. And one nice tip that we've realized over the years is if you have an auto, 6-speed, 8-speed, 4-speed in this case, you feed this connector through first. It's the biggest one. Makes it easier to feed everything else through later on.
Once we decided where the harness was going to route, we figured out placement for the engine computer, trans computer, and then the fuse block, which is all up underneath the dash. And once that part's done, or the harness makes it easy, you pass it through the hole in the firewall. Everything is laid out right where it goes, so basically anybody can do it. You plug in the heat injectors, mass airflow sensor, crank cam sensor, all those kind of things.
Quick couple installation notes while we're under the car. We've got our cam sensor wire here. This is going to plug directly into the cam sensor itself. On this crate motor and most crate motors, as well as a lot of factory motors, there's a cam sub harness inside this metal protector. So we're going to remove the sub harness, but use the metal protector to protect our wiring. Then we've got from our ground strap kit over here, this thick braided strap. We're just going to make a point to tie this to the chassis to make sure that the engine and the frame are both tied together ground-wise.
You know, the harness needs for all the sensor signals to make sure that it's getting the right 5-volt or 12-volt reference and it's not screwing up with the signal. And the problem that usually happens is grounds aren't great because maybe the car has been restored or you've got a cool painted or powder coated accessory drive and the alternator's not getting a good ground, or somewhere in the body doesn't have a good ground, or ground strap is rusted. So it's going to change what that signal is. So the ground strap grounds both heads to the block and then block to the chassis. So you make sure you get a good clean signal and everything's going to run great.
And then we're going to move on to our powers. So our harness gets power from the starter. That's going to get stacked with the battery cable. And on this vehicle, there's also power that feeds into the cabin from here. In addition to that, the only other chassis wire really for the engine is the starter solenoid that we rerouted from the factory wiring harness.
Joe, we got the dash ripped out of this car. We putting this thing back in or what?
No, we're throwing that thing out.
What?
Yeah.
You don't like the sweep style gauges?
No, I've got that grandma style in my Buick, and I think it's time to go. Okay, so Dakota Digital gave you guys an HDX gauge cluster. It's for the 78 to 88 olds, like you've got the 78 here. It gets rid of the sweep style. The cool thing about this, besides the way it looks, is a lot of the hookup can be done through the OBD2 port with their BIM module. You can get tach, speedo, oil pressure, coolant temp. You don't have to run all the extra sensors. They do provide wiring for this stuff if you want to. Like I said, we're going to get speedo off of there. If you didn't want to do that, say you're running a Power Glide, they've got a GPS speedo add-on, which makes it real easy to install. But basically, this thing, when it's all wired up, the center screen ends up being programmable. You can see 0 to 60, you can change color. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. Gear shift indicator.
Awesome,
So,
definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, you got to check back in when it's all wired up.
Okay, all right, well, I guess I'll let you and the guys get to work.
Yeah, we have no problem helping you out with this. We do them all the time.
Okay, all right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Well, Joe, we were here late last night. Looks like you guys got everything all wired up on the engine side, all tucked away. We didn't finish up the dash yet, but we're gonna get it fired up to make sure everything's hooked up right before we mess with the
dash. I want
dash.
to make sure the engine runs right, there's no fuel leaks, all that kind of stuff first before we hook up the Dakota. So you want to get in there and turn the key to the on position.
Yep, we'll see if the fuel pump fires.
Yeah, I hear the fuel pump going, there's no fuel leaks, so fire it up.
Fire it up.
So the primary, business is wiring harnesses, but we're car guys, we beat the heck out of our stuff all the time too. So we carry stuff to make the swap easier, whether it's gas tanks, it's all stuff we use. So it's the gas tanks that we use from Tanks Inc. It's the gauge clusters from Dakota Digital. It's, say radiators from DeWitt's. It's stuff that, UMI parts. It's all stuff that we use ourselves that we know is going to work together. And that's why we choose these companies. Being out on the track a bunch inspired me to create kind of a hybrid little, monster truck. So we have our own suspension brackets now that bolt the 5th gen IRS in the back of an OBS. And they've been pretty popular, and I've been beating the heck out of them for 2 years now. And when I do it here, it's the most fun I can have. So it was great to meet up with Dustin again and get back on the track. We've been a sponsor for 3 or 4 years now. And, it's super awesome. We're local, we're in New Jersey. We come here, we get to see our billboard up on the track. It's a great freaking feeling, besides getting to burn the tires. So It's the best, motocross / kind of like a track cross event that I've ever been to, and we plan to keep coming back.
We really appreciate PSI and the time they spent with us. Their product's a great setup. Comes with a harness, all the computers you need in the kit, flawless in the car. Next episode, our season finale, we're going to put all these products to the test.